Hey everyone. You know, today we're here to tell stories, and we're telling stories about snowflakes and snowmen and winter and all the things that go with winter. Yep, I'm Joyce Slater, and we're here to tell stories. This is my bear. This is Blackberry. Sometimes he helps me tell stories. And today, he told me that he wanted to hear a story about a bear. He loves bear stories, but sometimes my bear stories make fun of bears. Well, they don't really make fun of them, but they teach them a lesson. Is that okay with you, Blackberry? Okay. What's the story? Morning Glory? All right. Once upon a time, there was a great big old bear. Now, he was sleeping in his cave because it was the middle of winter and he was hibernating, but his stomach began to growl. You know how stomachs growl, don't you? Does your stomach ever growl, Blackberry? Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I get really, really hungry. And so his stomach began to growl. It woke him right up. And what did he do? He started walking outside. Now, he hadn't been out there in the winter much because there was snow out there. He even passed some snowmen. He passed, oh my goodness, people were sledding. He had never seen this before. His stomach was growling. He was looking for food and he couldn't find anything because of all the snow. Well, he got down to the lake. Now, the lake was frozen. It was just a big old block of ice, and it was very cold. He looked out and he thought, there used to be fish in that lake. I could eat fish, but I can't eat them now. Well, he happened to see old Fox walking around. Now, Fox didn't like Bear very much. No siree. But Fox looked fat and happy. And Bear said, "Hey, Fox, do you want to be the bear for me?" Hey, Fox! Hey, Fox! Where did you get something to eat? I'm hungry. Now, Fox said, "Oh, my goodness, well, that lake is full of fish. But it's covered in ice." "Well, it is covered in ice, but you can get around that," he said. "All you have to do is dig a hole in the ice, and you can go ice fishing." So Bear wanted to do that. Yes, he did. Now, what could he do? He had never been ice fishing before. He asked Fox how he could do that. And Fox said, "I'll show you." So Fox took him out on the ice. He got out in the middle of that lake and he said, "We're going to cut a hole in the ice." And he took some sticks and he beat it. And, well, Bear said, "I could do that." And sure enough, he cut a hole in the ice and he said, "Now what do I do?" "Well," Fox said, "you put your big fluffy tail in there because you see, Bear had a great big old fluffy tail back then. It was beautiful." Bear said, "Oh, my tail will get really cold." Well, Fox said, "Oh, no. You know, if you put your tail in there, the fish will start biting on it. And when you think you have enough fish on that tail, you just pull it out." And so Fox left Bear sitting there. Why, Bear was sitting there. He wanted more fish. He wanted as many fish as he could possibly get. He was a greedy bear. He sat there all day long, even though his tummy was growling. And then when he thought he had enough fish because he could feel him biting, he pulled on his tail to pull it out of the hole. But his tail wouldn't come out. He pulled and he pulled and he pulled. He pulled so hard, he pulled that beautiful tail right off. And that's why bears have a very short tail today. Because after he pulled his tail off, there was nothing left but a little stub. You know, from that time on, also, bears ate plenty before they hibernated. They didn't get up in the winter anymore. And that's a winter story of bear fishing on an ice lake. All right. Blackberry, do you want to go sit over there? Are you tired? Do you think you're going to go to sleep? Okay. Let me give you a hug. Oh, Blackberry is so good to hug. Yes, he is. All right, Blackberry, you go sit right over there. All right. Now, you know, in the wintertime, a lot of times we do a lot of baking because we like that oven to be on. Now, there was a little old woman, and she lived with her husband, a little old man. And she decided she was going to bake gingerbread that day. It was cold outside. It was so cold outside. She said, it'll warm up our tummies if we have some gingerbread in them. So she put all the ingredients in a bowl. She heated her oven. She rolled out that gingerbread dough, and she thought to herself, I'm going to make a gingerbread man. Why, she cut the dough out with a head and 2 arms and 2 legs, and she had some red hots in her cabinet. She put 1 for each eye, 1 for a nose, and a great big red hot smile. And then right down the front of him were red hot buttons. She put that gingerbread man into the oven and closed the door. Now she went over and she began to knit. She was knitting and then she forgot all about her little gingerbread man when she suddenly smelled something. Uh-oh, it smells like the gingerbread is burning. Oh no! She went over to the oven and opened the door quickly. Yes, the gingerbread was burning. But just then, that gingerbread man popped out of the oven. She said, what? He started running around the table. She started chasing him. He ran and ran. He ran out the door into the snow. She started running after him and she called the old man, come on, let's catch that gingerbread man. But all he said was, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. Oh, dear. They did run as fast as they could, but they never caught that gingerbread man. He went past a cow, and the cow thought, yum, a gingerbread man. I'd like to have me a gingerbread man. Licked her lips and started to run. But the gingerbread man called out, I ran away from a little old man. I ran away from a little old woman. I'll run away from you. I can. Run as fast as you can, because you can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. And he ran on. But now he came to a wolf. A wolf in the snow. Oh, my goodness. He was running and the wolf said, ooh, yum, gingerbread. I'd love to have some gingerbread. I'm going to eat you up. And that wolf started to run after the gingerbread man, but the gingerbread man yelled out, I ran away from a little old woman. I ran away from a little old man. I ran away from a cow. I can run away from you. I can. Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. And sure enough, he ran away. He ran past snowmen. He ran past children on sleds. None of them could catch him. But then he came to the lake. Oh dear. Now somebody would catch him because he couldn't cross the lake, even though there were big chunks of ice in that lake. He still couldn't get across. But a sly old fox came up to him and said, Hey, gingerbread man, what you want? He said, I want to get across that lake. He said, Well, I could take you across. I can't get wet, said the gingerbread man. Oh, you won't get wet at all. And so he climbed on the back of the fox. And they started out. And the gingerbread man said, Oh, thank you, thank you. You know, I ran away from a little old woman. I ran away from a little old man. I ran away from a cow. And I ran away from a wolf. I am a gingerbread man. Well, they got partway across the lake when the fox started to sink down into the water. He said, You better climb up higher, gingerbread man, or you're going to end up in the water. So he climbed up higher. But the further they went, the further down the fox went into the water until it was just his head above the water. Gingerbread man climbed up on top of his head, and before he got any lower, the fox said, You better jump on my nose. I'll for sure keep that out of the water. And the gingerbread man jumped on his nose, and just like that, the fox opened his mouth and, boom, ate that gingerbread man right down. Now, nobody else knew what happened to the gingerbread man, but we all know that even though he ran away from the little old man, he ran away from the little old woman, he ran away from the cow, he ran away from the wolf, he even ran away from all those children. But run as fast as he could not escape the fox. And that's the story of the gingerbread man. All right. Okay, now let's see. I know a story. Once upon a time, there was a little boy, and he was going to visit his grandmother. Now, his grandmother loved having him come, no matter what time of year it was, but it was winter. And she knew that that little boy loved to play out in the snow. She was always making things for him. One winter, she made him a pair of mittens. One winter, she made him a hat. He always seemed to lose his things, but that didn't matter because she always made more. Well, this winter, she made him a lovely scarf. It was a long scarf. He could wrap it around and around and around his neck when he went out to play. And that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to go out and play. He went out to play and he rolled that snow out there in that winter wonderland. He rolled it and he rolled it and he made himself a snowman. Oh my goodness. Why, he found some sticks and he made some arms. He found some twigs and some rocks and he made a mouth that smiled. He found a couple of rocks for the eyes. He even put some twigs on the head like a hat. But he thought, this poor snowman needs a scarf. So he took off his scarf and he wrapped it around and around and around that snowman's neck. "Ah," he said, "this is perfect." Now, he started to make another snowman. And then he made a third snowman. And then he rolled up snow into balls and he threw them at the trees to see if he could make some marks in the woods. But then his grandma called him. She called out, "Billy, Billy, come on back home. I've got lunch ready for you." He was hungry. He didn't even realize it. He ran as fast as he could back home to his grandma's. He took off his coat, he took off his galoshes, he took off his hat, he took off his mittens, and he sat down at the table and he ate and ate and ate. And then he took a nap. Well, in the meantime, that scarf was around and around and around that snowman's neck. There were a couple of raccoons in the forest. They came out and they saw that scarf and they unwrapped it from around the snowman's neck. And they started playing tug of war. Ooh, ooh. They pulled this way and that way and this way and that way. And then they grew tired of it and they left it in the snow. Well, a family of rabbits came in. They thought, "Whoa, that looks like a perfect jump rope." And they loved to jump. So two of them got on each end and they started to twirl that scarf. And they twirled it and jumped back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until they grew very tired. And they let it lay in the woods. Now, who should come but a big bear? Now, this bear looked at that scarf and thought, "Oh, I could use a scarf like that. I'm getting ready to go hibernate. I could wrap it all around me, and then I could be warmer." Well, he started wrapping it around, but it was a very long scarf, and on one of the ends, he tripped. He kept falling. As he walked, he would trip on the scarf. So he took the scarf off and he tossed it, and it hung from a tree. Well, that scarf was all stretched out and it was snagged and torn here and there. What a shame. Billy's brand new scarf. Well, back at Grandma's house, there was Billy. He woke up from his nap. "Grandma, I think I'll go back outside and play," she said. "Be sure to put on your mittens, your hat, your scarf, your coat, your galoshes to stay warm." Well, Billy put on his galoshes, he put on his coat, he put on his mittens, he put on his hat, and he looked all around, but he couldn't find his scarf. Where had his scarf gone? Grandma said, "Did you lose your scarf? Every time I make you something new, Billy, you lose it. Maybe you better go out and look for it." So out he went. He remembered then he had put it around the snowman's neck, but when he got there, the snowman didn't have a scarf. He looked everywhere for that scarf. He saw rabbit tracks. He saw raccoon tracks. He even saw bear tracks. But then suddenly he saw his scarf. It was hanging from a tree. He could pull and pulled just in the right direction, and the scarf came tumbling down. He picked up the scarf, but oh dear, Grandma would be mad because there were holes in it now and big old snags, and it was stretched out here and there. He took it home and he showed his grandma what had happened. She said, "I don't know how you do it, Billy, but you manage to just wear the life out of everything I make you. Bring it here because I can fix it. I still have some of that yarn." And you know, she did. She fixed those holes and pulled those snags so that they were just right again. And Billy got to wear it once more when he went out in the frosty weather to make another snowman. And that's the story of the brand new scarf. All right, let's see. Maybe we have time for one more story. This one is The Snow Maiden. And this is a story from a very frosty land. It's from Russia. Yes, it was very, very cold there. Well, there was a man and a woman who lived there. A little man, a little woman, they lived in a little hut. One day, they were sitting in their hut. They had no children. They had no grandchildren, of course. They were sitting in their hut and they were looking through their window outside. It had snowed and snowed and snowed. Let's all make it snow. It snowed and snowed and snowed. And there were children everywhere rolling great big balls of snow and building snowmen. They were building snow women too. And they were throwing snowballs at each other. They were sliding down the hills on their sleds. That little old man and little old woman, they thought, how wonderful it is to watch these children. And then the old man said, "I have an idea. Why don't we go out and make a snowman or a snow woman?" Oh, the little old woman, she thought that was great. They got dressed in their warmest clothes and their big boots, their hats and gloves, and out they went. And then she had an idea. You know, since we don't have any children of our own, why don't we make a snow child? Well, he thought that was a good idea too. So they rolled the snow for the body and they made legs and arms and a head. They put hair, snow hair on the head. They put snow clothes on the body. He put 2 holes in the head for eyes and a little button nose, so cute, out of snow. Then he made a mouth with lips. But just as he was about to turn around, he felt something warm. There was warm breath coming from that mouth. How could that be, he thought. And then he looked in the eyes, and they were the brightest blue, and the hair was like straw, the color yellow. That little nose twitched, and the old woman said, Oh, look, Providence has brought us a child." And she wrapped her arms around that snow child. But the snow fell away, and there was a little girl. "Oh, my goodness, we have our own little girl," the old woman said. "Let's take her inside." And they took her inside, and oh, my goodness, they fed her. She wasn't very hungry. She liked only cold things, it seemed. So they made ice cream from the snow. Have you ever done that? Ah, yes, with some milk and cream and sugar. Ah, it was so good. Now, That little snow child grew and grew. In just 3 days, she was as tall as a teenager. Everyone around was fascinated by her. The old woman called her her snow maiden because she was a little girl grown into a teenage girl. She had friends that came, they would come in the house, but that snow maiden would always sit in the coldest corner of that hut. She'd spent most of her time outdoors, and she played and made snowmen and snowwomen with all of the other friends she had. She was a happy, happy child. It made the whole house happy to have her there. Well, the winter passed and spring came. The sun shone a little brighter. The snow maiden started to be sad. She would sit in the very coldest corner of the hut with her hands clenched and her head down. She was sad. Nobody knew why. She didn't go outside very much. When the weather got warm, she tried to stay as cold as possible. But then her friends came and they begged and they pleaded for her to come outside and play. And she did. But it seemed like she was fading away. The old man and the old woman didn't know what to do. One day, all of her friends came, and it was mid-spring, and it was very warm, and she didn't want to go out, but they begged, and they said, "We are going to go and build a fire, and we want you to come and dance and sing with us, because you make us all so happy." Well, she finally gave in, and she went with them. She tried to stay in the shadows, in the coolest part of the forest. The boys collected sticks, and the girls sang songs, and they were all so happy. Well, it was a small fire, and her friends had a game they played. They would jump over that fire. They would run and leap over the fire, and she stood back in the shadows. They said, "Snow Maiden, please come. Come and jump over the fire with us." She tried to tell them no, but then finally she gave in. She jumped over the fire. But it was as if they had blinked their eyes. She was gone. She was nowhere to be seen. They looked all around the forest. They couldn't find her. They even went back to the hut to see the old woman and the old man. They hadn't seen her. Everyone was looking for the snow maiden. Nobody knew what happened. They thought maybe she got lost in the forest, or maybe there was a beast that took her away. But no, there was no beast, and she did not get lost. For you see, a snow maiden can only live with snow and ice and the cold. And so when she jumped over that fire, why, she melted. But they knew that the very next year she would come back, and she would visit them, and she would share all of her joy and laughter with everyone. And that's the story of the Snow Maiden. Now, I know in this season we often sing the song about Frosty, and we can't really sing the whole song, but you could sing it at home. You remember? Frosty the snowman was a jolly, happy soul. He was made of snow, and the children know. Well, what do the children know? They know they love snow. So tell your frosty tales this winter and build your snowmen and build your snow women and maybe build a snow child. But wrap up in that scarf and stay away from frozen lakes and foxes with noses. All right. See you all later, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful winter.